a Swedish ethnologist and a historian. In Sweden, if you say that you're an ethnologist, you're usually met with, oh, that has something to do with saving the whales, doesn't it? Or people expect a soft-spoken person in a cardigan with comfy slippers, mostly talking about gnomes and trolls. But that last part is sort of true. I do speak a lot about gnomes and trolls, but what modern ethnologists actually do is mostly debunking all the shit that 19th century ethnologists came up with. And I can't say I'm really that soft-spoken about it. So I started posting some videos about Scandinavian folklore on this channel, and I also put up something about Swedish Yule tradition, especially Lucia tradition. And suddenly YouTube is bombarding me with recommendation of videos from Norse pagans and their view about what Yule is. I have nothing against Norse pagans, but the thing is, I started to see some of these videos, and they are wrong. They are so wrong. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of those things, they do have a lot of the details is a little bit no, not really. I'm not saying that these people are lying to you deliberately. I'm also not going to hang out single individuals on YouTube because I think that's mean, and I'm not here to be mean. I am just here to try and sort out what actually is Old Norse Scandinavian Yule traditions and what is not, and that is probably 17th century German traditions. So let's start. Number 1. Odin is the origin of Santa Claus. Oh, how I really wish people would stop spreading this thing. There is no evidence of this. Yes, the word Yule does connect to Odin because one of Odin's name was Yulnar, or Yule, and that is probably why we started celebrating this holiday in December from the start. But he is not a Santa Claus figure. He has nothing to do with Santa Claus. First of all, the tradition of giving gifts to each other didn't become popular in Sweden until the 19th century. And then it was not Santa that brought the gifts, but the Yule Goat. I will speak more about the Yule Goat later, but Odin has nothing to do with goats. Most likely, Santa Claus is a mix of different Christian traditions, where Saint Nicolaus, the Turkish saint from the 4th century, is the top contender as the beginning of Santa Claus. As in many of the European traditions, we have this mix where we have a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and we kind of, it just mixes into something that's getting very hard a couple of 100 years later to try and figure out what is what and who started what and where. But we can say that Odin is not Santa Claus. There is no connections there. I know people want to think this and that it's a really cool idea. I mean, look at this picture. How cool isn't that? But I'm sorry. It's just not academically valuable to say that. The fat red jolly guy that we have today and his 8 reindeers has nothing to do with the 8 legs of Sleipnir or Odin. It has more to do with Coca-Cola from 1930 when they started doing the commercial with a Santa Claus. I can recommend you Jackson Crawford's videos. He has done some great videos on this topic, and I will set a link down below, or you can find it up here in the corner. I generally recommend his channel because this is a guy that knows stuff. So number 2, the Yule Goat is a remnant from Thor. So in one of the videos I listened to, I was actually laughing a bit because this person was completely misled about the Yule Goat and our Scandinavian traditions around the Yule Goat. Again, I do not want to be mean, but okay, I'm gonna be a little mean. If you're not from Scandinavia and doesn't know much about Scandinavia, maybe do not make a video about Scandinavian traditions without actually checking with a Scandinavian person first. The risk of you getting things completely wrong and looking like a fool is rather high. Sorry. Why? Well, the things we do in Scandinavia during Yule times is so freaking strange sometimes that, I mean, it's completely understandable that you get things completely wrong if you're not from here and actually know about our traditions. So, tip to that person, next time, check with a Scandinavian person if what you have is correct. So in this video, she is speaking about how we up here in Scandinavia have this Yule goat, and that this Yule goat comes with presents for kids, and we have a straw version as decorations. Yep, that is correct. Both of those statements are correct. So far, so good. But then she starts to talk about how we ritually burns the goats every year and so on, and that this Yule goat, after he has delivered the presents to the kids, that we do some kind of symbolic killing of this person, and that this is, according to this pagan, remnants from the celebration of Thor and his goats that he was supposed to. Sorry, I can't really get over that, burning goats and killing the goat that comes with presents. Why would you kill him? I mean, he's nice, right? He comes with presents. You can see my hello kids, here are some presents. Okay, sorry for that. No, we don't burn goats up in Scandinavia, and we do not kill the Yule goat when it comes to presents. So, it is correct that we do have a long tradition of a goat appearing during Yule. And like I said, it is also correct that Thor had a chariot drawn by 2 goats. So I can see how you want to do that connection, but the Yule goat has nothing to do with Thor. It is one of our most oldest figures, yes. But so far I have not found any reliable source that connects Thor with the Yule goat. First of all, Thor had 2 goats, and they even had names. So why would there not be 2 goats? Why would they just be 1 goat? That doesn't mean it's not pagan, but we do not know exactly where the Yule goat comes from. There is a gap between mentioning Thor's goats and when the Yule goat starts appearing in our traditions. And that gap is a couple of 100 years. And that is a big gap. And when it appears, it is actually a symbol of the devil. So we had students during medieval time, they walk around singing and entertaining, begging for food and drinks. And they did this during Yule time. Usually they were dressed up as biblical characters, and one of them usually have a mask made out of straw that was a goat's mask. So we do have the goat there, but there is clearly a symbol of the devil. It's much more like Krampus from Germany and Austria. And of course we do have another type of goat that could be this straw goat that we have. because we do have a tradition of making a sort of harvest goat, where you bind the goat and you bind in the luck of the next harvest in it. And you did this around Yule time, and you kept it for the whole year, and then you made a new one. So it was supposed to be like a luck charm of some sort. And that is probably pre-Christian. But again, it has nothing to do with Thor. It's not Thor's goats, it's a goat. And goats have been used as a fertility symbol and as the devil's in them, and a kind of a mix in all kinds of directions for a very long time in not just Scandinavia. So no, I will not agree that the Yule goat is Thor's goats. And we do not burn these goats. No, we do not burn it. I guess that this person might have gotten this idea that we burn goats because there is a huge Yule goat up in the town of Gävle. And every year they build this huge Yule goat, and every year there is some drunk idiot that tries to put it on fire. And this gave a lot of PR in the media, so of course this spread, and now people are trying to set it on fire, and they're even holding bets about whether or not it will burn or stay alive during the Christmas. But if you're not a drunk idiot or an American that was fooled to put it on fire, that had happened a couple of times because they thought this was the way to go do it. So if you're not a drunken fool or a drunk American, no, we do not burn goats. And that ritual killing of the goat giving presents, I have never heard about that. Never, ever. So it's completely wrong. And so, if you are listening to this video, you the one that know that you talk about it, could you please answer my question that I asked in your video, where you got this from? Because I really want to know. I really want to know. Yeah. Let's leave the Yule goat and just state that it has nothing to do with Thor's goats. Yes, it's a pagan tradition, but it's just a goat. We haven't burned that goddamn goat up in Gävle for 3 years. Now we have a pandemic. Who knows? So, number 3. The Christmas tree is a symbol of Yggdrasil, the life tree from the North beliefs. No, sorry again. According to my sources, which include one of my friends in Finland that works at the museum there, the first record that anyone has taken a live tree inside was in Livonia around the year 1450. And those were Germans that did this. The idea that this is supposed to be Yggdrasil is very hazy and very, very hard to connect. Yes, people in Scandinavia did put up branches, and they did this outside, like at the door or entrance of the farm, and that was to ward off evil spirits. Because during Yule time, according to all folklore, and which probably is a pagan remnant, Yule time is a very, very dangerous night. That is when all the spirits is moving around, and you have Odin's wild hunt, where he is hunting for the skogsrå, one of the supernatural beings in Swedish folklore. So yes, we did put up some pine tree branches and stuff like that to ward off evil spirits, but it has nothing to do with the Christmas tree that later came from Germany. We still do a lot of pagan stuff, if we want to call it pagan, but let's say non-Christian stuff here up in Scandinavia. I usually say when I do research about folklore that, yeah, maybe we weren't 100% Christianized up here. They had to bend in a lot of stuff under the church with a mental crowbar because we did not like to stop doing our celebrations. But that doesn't mean it is still only pagan. It have been mixed so much during the hundreds of years. I mean, come on, guys. It's around thousands years now since the pagan times, so the pre-Christian era. So everything has been so mixed into each other, and we have as Scandinavian countries seems to do, we kind of get influences from other cultures like Germany and Russia and England, and we just take it and incorporate it and make something completely our thing about it. And I think that's really cool, but it doesn't make it pagan. So what do we do that we can say that, well, this is clearly pre-Christian era? The harvest goat, yes, it's pre-Christian era. It's not Thor's goat. Keeping lights up and keeping yourself awake during the Yule night or the Lucia night, which is from the start was the same night, but later due to calendar stuff it kind of got divided. But keeping light during these 2 nights was very important because the evil spirits was out and you really wanted to ward off all the evil that was happening during this night because this was the longest night of the year. We also put out bunches of oats outside, and this is probably an old remnant from what I was speaking about, the Odin and his wild hunt. You try to appease his horse, actually. Here is where Sleipnir actually comes in. So try to appease his horse not to go near your farm. Kind of like, here horsey, you have some oats, now go play somewhere else. And this is done still today, even if now it has come and debate if this is really healthy for the birds, but and again, this tradition have sort of melted and blended into the Christian society. And we do know that the church didn't like people doing this because it was a heathen tradition. So that's why we can say that, okay, this is pre-Christian era. I'm not saying people should not do what they want to do. Please continue to celebrate your way of Christmas. I mean, do what makes you happy. That is very important. But I urge people to be very careful about what you claim to be Old Norse pagan things. If you want to be historically correct and make something that is educational and not just tell good stories, the problem is that we do not know that much about Viking and Old Norse way of celebrating Yule. We have almost no records of this. The only thing that we have that is written down is the Poetic Edda and the Prosaic Edda. These were Icelandic tales written about 200 years after things were supposed to happen. And that is also colored from Christian beliefs, so we need to take that rather carefully. But from there, we can, of course, say something about how we celebrated Yule. We do know that we celebrated Yule. We do know that it probably has something to do with Odin, Julnar, which basically means the one that do Yule, the one that brings Yule. And we do know that they drank a lot. There is an expression in Swedish to drink Yule, which was living on long after we get Christianized, and we still have today a lot of different kind of Yule drinks. And we do know that according to one of the Icelandic sagas, King Håkan the Good, he was a Christian, but he thought it was okay for both Christians and pagans to coexist. And he was celebrating Yule, and they wanted him to eat the liver of a horse. And he didn't really want this. So we also know that horse meat seems to be a thing. And we also know that the same king made a decree. He didn't care if you celebrated Christmas or if you celebrated Yule, but by law you had to drink at least a certain amount of alcohol to show off that you celebrated. It was of course just the free men. And again, Jackson Crawford did a video on this where he did some calculations, and I think he said it was about 15 liters. Not that much actually. 15 liters over 3 days. It's a lot, but it's not horrible. could probably do it without killing myself and without being completely intoxicated. Anyhow, so again, be careful what you state are Scandinavian traditions. If you're not Scandinavian yourself and actually know that this is happening, be also very careful what you state is Old Norse traditions, because we do not know that much about how they actually celebrated. There is very few sources that we have, and the picture stones and rune stones is not telling us anything about this. And as I said, I'm not saying people should not do Yule the way they want. If you want the Christmas tree to be Yggdrasil, if you want the goat to be Thor's goat because that is your thing, go do your thing. But if you want to be historically correct, I'm sorry. It's sadly my job to say you're wrong. If you want to celebrate Yule the really Old Norse way, what you have to do is drink yourself silly and eat horse liver and make promises that you will die for if you do not keep them. Because that is the only thing we actually really know about how the Old Norse celebrated Yule. So I will get off my soapbox, and I really think it's fun that people like the Old Norse and the Viking stuff. With that said, happy holidays, god jul, and I truly hope that you have a god jul.
Nu är det jul igen, nu ska vi fira. Vill veta varför vi firar Lucia. Se på vår tröskel står i tofflor med kofta på. Det är våra etnologer. Det där är ej vikingtid. Det där är från Ryssland. Det där är definitivt lånat av Tyskland. Se på vår tröskel står första julen varenda år. Det är våra etnologer, sabla etnologer.
I drink too much coffee, please be my patron, and like and then subscribe. I don't have any rhyme on Patreon. Please buy me coffee.